Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host for Explain America. And today we're going to look at The Last Dawn. Before we get started, please make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those little things really help us out. Now let's get into it. All right. The Last Dawn is a 2007 American crime drama film written by Andrew Davis and directed by Paul Schrader. It stars Hollywood heavyweights like Sylvester Stallone, John Travolta, William Forsythe, Joe Pesci, and Ana de Armas. It was produced by New Image and Millennium Films and was released by Lionsgate on February 9, 2007. As of March 28, 2021, the film has a 4% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes with an average rating of 3.47 out of 10. The site's consensus is, The Last Dawn is yet another tiresome entry in the overpopulated, made-for-video mob movie genre. Metacritic reports a 47 out of 100 based on 14 critics, indicating generally unfavorable reviews. On IMDb, the film is rated 5.2 out of 10 based on 58,616 votes. So clearly the critics did not like this movie, but the fans seem to have enjoyed it. The plot is centered around Michael Franzese, a ruthless mafia captain who seizes control of a crime family after killing the boss. He then goes on a rampage to take out the other members of the family, before the commission can install a replacement boss. The film is based loosely on the life of Michael Franzese, a capo regime in the Bonanno crime family. If you don't know what that means, basically he's a high-ranking member of the Mafia. During his time in the Bonanno family, Franzese was one of the most successful earners, raking in more than $1 million per week at the peak of his career. In 1977, he became the youngest capo in the history of the Bonanno's family at age 35. He later turned government witness and testified against his former associates, leading to his early release from prison in 1994. The movie begins with a bang as Michael Franzese, played by Sylvester Stallone, murders Anthony Corleone, the acting boss of the Bonanno crime family. The opening scene is brutal and bloody, setting the tone for the rest of the movie. After disposing of Corleone's body, Franzese calls a meeting with the rest of the family and delivers a monologue explaining that he took out the boss because he was ineffective, and the family needed new leadership. I've never seen the uncut version of this movie, but apparently there was a line in the original script where Franzese said, "I killed the boss because he was a effing moron." That line was dubbed over in post-production, and they had him say something a little more diplomatic instead. But nevertheless, Franzese lays out his plan to take out the other members of the family so that he will be the only boss. Of course, this goes against the rules of the Mafia. You can't just kill people and take over the family like that. But since the old boss is dead, the commission won't be able to do anything about it. The only problem is, the police are hot on France's trail, and they re-led by a tenacious detective named Lieutenant Mike Ragan, played by William Forsythe. As the movie progresses, we learn that Francis is not the cold-blooded killer that he appears to be. He has a soft spot for his girlfriend, Catherine, played by Ana de Armas, and her son, who he considers to be his godson. We also learn that Franzese has a troubled past. He was arrested for robbery at age 14 and spent several years in prison. Upon his release, he went straight to work for the Mafia. His criminal career began under the tutelage of his father, a soldier in the Lucci's crime family. So it's almost like the apple didn't fall far from the tree. At one point in the movie, Franzese explains how he got his start in the Mafia and says, "My old man, he's a made guy, worked for the Lucchese family. When I was 14, I got pinched for a robbery, did 4 years in a youth facility. When I came out, my father put in a good word for me with Paul Vario, who was a capo in the Bonanno family. That's how I got my start." So basically, Franzese was born into the Mafia life. It was kind of inevitable that he would follow in his father's footsteps. As the body count rises, the pressure starts to mount on Franzese. The commission sends 2 hitmen to take him out. One of the hitmen is played by Joe Pesci, and if you've ever seen any of his other movies, you know that he is capable of being very scary. However, Stallone's character is able to outmaneuver them and take them both out. In a tense shootout at a diner, Franzese learns that the commission has also ordered a hit on his girlfriend, Catherine. To protect her, Franzese takes her to the house of his friend Sonny, played by John Travolta. Sonny is a former boxer who now runs a casino and a strip club. He agrees to help Franzese hide Catherine, but it's clear that he doesn't want her there. There is definitely some sexual tension between Franzese and Sonny's wife, Gigi, played by Famke Janssen. This is probably the only time in cinematic history that John Travolta's character had to share the screen with a sex symbol. Usually he's the sex symbol. Now, if you've ever met or spoken with anyone from New York, especially if they're of Italian descent, you might notice that their last name is spelled differently than other names you've seen before. For example, my mother's maiden name is Arico, but I've also seen it spelled Arico, and even Arek. It turns out that many of these spellings are the result of transliteration errors. That occurred when Italian immigrants first arrived in the United States. Many of them couldn't speak English well, so they would give the best approximation of their name in English letters. This led to a lot of misspellings. In fact, there is no official way to spell many of these names in English. For example, there are 5 different ways to spell my last name, all of which are correct. Anyway, I mention this because some people have complained that the spelling of the name Francis is incorrect. It should be Francis, according to purists. But the reason they spell it differently is because it's closer to the pronunciation of the name. As the movie reaches its climax, Franzese is cornered by the police and the Mafia. He makes a final stand at Sonny's house. But not before killing Sonny, Gigi, and Catherine. Why? He kills Catherine because she was going to run off with another man. He kills Sonny and Gigi because they had stolen money from him. In the end, Franzese is killed by Lieutenant Reagan. Was it worth it, you decide? For me personally, I thought the movie was enjoyable, but not because it was particularly well made or had a compelling story. Most of the dialogue sounded natural and believable. All the actors did a good job, but the standout performance was definitely John Travolta as Sonny. He brought a level of intensity and menace to the role that was surprising and welcome. I hadn't seen him in anything else prior to this movie, but he had smaller roles in other movies like Blow and The Punisher. I think he's better suited for dramatic roles like this, but all the main actors did a good job. Sylvester Stallone carried the movie on his shoulders, but I thought he was a bit too ruthless and cold-blooded. In real life, Franzese was known for being charming and charismatic, but Stallone didn't really convey that. There were a couple of scenes where Franzese showed some humanity, but those were few and far between. So is The Last Don worth watching? Well, that depends on what you're looking for in a movie. If you want something thought-provoking or intellectually stimulating, this isn't it. But if you want a fun little mob movie with some action and suspense, it'll do the trick. Give it a thumbs up. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. This is your host. God bless you. God bless your family and keep you safe. I'll see you next time on Explain America.